6-week leg blast workout. So when we're going into our quarter squats, I want us to set ourselves up about shoulder width apart, feet slightly opened up. When we come down into our squat, I want us to hinge backwards. So we basically get everything through the back of our butt and our hamstrings nice and engaged. Come down, quarter of the way. Full range would be about halfway down, quarter of the way here. And then what I want us to do is we're going to jump up, and when we land, we're landing back into our receiving position, which is essentially your quarter squat. So as we come up, receive, back down, and then we're immediately bouncing ourselves right back up, right back up. When you land, I don't want you to take on the full weight of your fall. It's gonna put a lot of tension into your knees, into your hips. When we receive, we transfer that weight into our joints so that we can do this safely and effectively. If you have a little hesitation at first, go ahead and just go with some quick squats for the initial 30 seconds, and let's try to progress to week 2 and 3. We're gonna utilize our glute and our hamstring. We're going to hinge at the waist, similar to a deadlift, and bring ourselves back up to the top. The great part about it is when you're balancing, you got to recruit a lot more muscles. So we're not just using our glute and our hamstring, but we're also using a lot of these smaller muscle fibers in our joints. Now the hinge, I'm hinging forward and I'm reaching for that toe, stabilizing myself through my foot all the way up. If balancing is an issue, rather than allowing that back foot to swing backwards, I want you to use it as like a kickstand. Putting still more of your pressure all through the front of the leg, so that's getting the work. Still hinging just like you did before, leaning over. Back is nice and tight, and then standing up, utilizing that leg. Your other option, grab a chair around the house, place it to the side of you, and then utilize it to help yourself balance and reach for that lead leg. You're gonna set yourself up, feet together. We're gonna go right side first. We're gonna step out and away. We're really gonna take a long stride. Pull out into our lunge, keeping my chest up and my knee tracing over my toe, pressing off that foot and back to my centered position. Moving right back out and back to my neutral position. From the side, this is going to be key when I step out. Don't allow your knee to trace forward. We're pushing this hip backwards. Allow your chest to stay over so that, again, you're using the biggest part of the joint through the hip, not the weaker part through our knee. So you feel a transfer to the hamstring and not the quads here. Push back to center. And pushing out and away is bothersome to start. Start with a straddle stance, nice and wide, both feet facing straight ahead, and then just simply lean into that lunge and back to the top. Lean into it and back to the top. The other foot will stay flat, so you'll probably feel a little bit of a stretch to the opposite leg. After 30 seconds, we're moving on to the left side. Simply, you're already set up to move into that transition. Typical burpees involve a push-up. We're gonna keep ourselves off the ground for today, so we're gonna sprawl out. Make sure you have some room at home. Hands come to the ground first, kicking our feet back, kick our feet up, and then give me a jump at the top. To modify this, rather than jumping back and jumping up, let's place our hands down. Walk our feet back, walk our feet up, and then jump or simply stand. If going all the way to the ground is a challenge, let's use something that's off the ground. Go ahead and go to a chair or use a box, something that lifts us up and back down. As we get a little bit more comfortable with the movement, let's progress it all the way down to the ground. See how many reps you can get. So as most progress, we're gonna bring ourselves down from the floor. Feet together, it'll look like a push-up position, arms nice and long, arms stay rigid throughout. Don't allow them to bend. We're gonna bring one leg up. Feel free to bring the toe to the ground. We're gonna try to alternate these. Back and forth, very limited movement through my hips. But let's try to keep it tight here and maintain strong upper back. If coming from the ground, this feels a little bit difficult. Great, the next modification is gonna come from a chair at home or something that brings you off of the floor. Staircase is another great option. Hold on to my chair, same position applies, bringing my knee up to my chest, and we're alternating from here. Again, trying to limit the amount of movement from your hips. Good luck. Your depth may vary from everybody else, but that's okay. Go down to a challenging depth, and we're gonna hold it there. So again, setting up in our squat position, feet will be shoulder width apart, toes slightly opened up. I want you to really try to spread the ground with your feet so that you're nice and active through those hips. Don't just passively let yourself fall, all right? We're gonna stay active so the entire body is working. So we're pushing back, hinging out at the waist, bringing ourselves down to a depth that feels challenging, and we're here holding. 30 seconds to start. If you start to feel like you can't hold it any longer, bring yourself up just a little bit, but stay there, challenge yourself. You're gonna do great. Squat pulses. We're gonna set up like we would for a lunge. However, rather than stepping back, we're already gonna establish our base. Most of my weight will be on my lead foot, but I wanna stay nice and balanced here so that when I come down into my split squat, I'm not all the way to the floor, but I feel tension in both my lead leg and my back leg. Torso is nice and tight here, not wavering. Our pulse, we're gonna start moving up and back down, but never fully coming out of the tension. So we're gonna stay down and low. You'll start feeling it through both legs. It's gonna be fun. Next exercise is running in place. It sounds simple, but the more you guys can aggressively attack it, the more you'll get out of it. Our goal is to keep ourselves moving, keep the heart rate elevated, and let's get these feet pumping. Opposite arm, opposite hand are moving alongside of it. Let's pretend like we're sprinting. It's not a marathon run. We're not here just jogging. Get those feet up. Let's get ourselves moving. If the pressure on the knees is a little bit difficult, just go into a walking march. Stand. We're going to utilize a chair at home. You can use a bench, a staircase, something that allows you to sit and stand from. Starting the movement off, setting up in our squat position, feet about shoulder width apart. We're lowering ourselves down slowly to the chair. From the stand position, this is where it's going to get a little bit challenging. You're going to lift one leg up so that we're only able to stand through our stable leg. We're going to stand up to that top, reset ourselves with both legs, and then return ourselves back to the bottom. Reset, drive ourselves back up. Stay under control the entire time. You'll have a tendency to want to fall. Don't make yourself work both up and down. If standing up under one leg is a little challenging and we're not quite there yet, here's how I want you to modify it. Come down into your squat position. Rather than lifting this other leg up, you're going to bring it to the floor and you're going to use your tippy toe. So you're going to use a little assistance out of this leg, but the majority of the pressure is still going through our right dominant leg. And then we'll stand from here. Reset, squat, tippy toe, stand through that dominant leg. So our setup will be from the floor. Make sure you're on a comfortable surface. If not, throw a pad underneath of you. We're going to start off in a kneeling position. From here, we are bringing ourselves up into a squat position, nice and low and stable. Then from here, we're jumping back into our receiving position and then slowly bringing ourselves back down to the knees. Make sure that you are starting with the opposite leg on the next rotation. Drive up. Don't just use your dominant leg to stand up every time. If the jump feels like it's a little bit too much on our joints for starting, let's go ahead and let's try to bring ourselves from a knee position to a squat position. Or the other option, if kneeling is uncomfortable, let's start off in our squat position and simply bring ourselves into a squat jump. Modify as you see fit, and let's progress it over the next 6 weeks. Make sure you have enough room around your house, wherever you're doing this workout. We're gonna start off from one side. I'm gonna hop over towards my right foot. I'm gonna swing my back leg around to keep my center of gravity over my midfoot in front. Notice it's not a big movement, right? I'm not jumping too far side to side, but what I am doing is I'm working on that balance and that transition over to the other side. I can modify this movement by coming down and not moving as far, but I can still get my hop across, so I'm working on that jump and that balance. See which one works best for you and attack it. Sumo squat pulses. We're gonna start off with our feet a little bit wider than our typical squat stance. Toes are still opened up, but we're still trying to drive our knees out in line with our toes so that when we come down here, you can feel a big stretch right at the bottom. The pulsing portion, we're not coming all the way up, nor are we going down as far as possible. You're kind of staying in this range where the muscles are contracted and you can get that big feeling of that burn throughout the quads. From the side, Notice my knees aren't going to travel forward here. I'm hinging and pushing those hips backwards, and then I'm staying in this pulse contracted position. Try to stay here for your designated number of seconds. Our speed squat is going to be a fast dynamic movement. We're not pausing at the bottom nor at the top of our squat. We are going to be moving continuously all the way until our seconds are up on the clock. So our setup, feet shoulder width apart. We're creating a lot of tension through the ground, so I'm spreading the ground with my feet, and I'm keeping my chest nice and high. If you start to feel yourself tuck down at the waist, I want you to try to push those knees forward just a little bit more, all right? If we find out that our range kind of stops before we hit all the way down to the ground, that's fine. That's where we'll start for now. We'll pick it back up next week, and we'll try to keep on progressing with the movement. So I want us hitting ourselves down to the bottom, then we're coming back up. And moving quickly through this while breathing. If your movement looks more here, that's fine for now. Running high knees in place, similar to our running in place, only this time we're going to attempt to get those knees much higher above our waistline. So you're running in place, you're driving those knees up nice and high, not allowing your feet to stay on the ground for very long. You ever played hot lava as a child? Well, you're playing it now as an adult. As soon as those feet touch, get them up, get them up as high as you can. If sprinting or running is a little bit too high impact on your body, then we're just trying to drive that knee up into your chest, and when you pull it up, try to contract those abs a little bit so you get more out of this movement. Our front lunge and our back lunge, front lunge or reverse lunge. We're going to use one leg, and we're going to use it for the entire duration until we switch to the opposite. So our front lunge, just like we were set up before, I'm walking forward, my weight shifting forward. My back lunge, just the opposite. I'm stepping backwards, still keeping both knees at 90 degrees, stepping forward and pushing back and stepping back. Notice there's no change in my back angle as I'm coming down. So I'm not allowing momentum to take me forward, nor am I trying to keep my weight as gravity in the front. I'm trying to equal it between both legs. In front, rather than walking a straight tightrope, I'm gonna walk slightly out to the side. Rather than taking a straight step back, I'm gonna try to step back just a little bit so that I have a better base of support. Try it all on your right side, and then you'll do the same thing on your left. We're gonna set ourselves up in a typical squat position, not sumo out nice and wide. Feet are gonna be shoulder width apart, slightly opened up with our toes, and I'm gonna create tension out with my feet so that everything through my lower half is nice and engaged. From the side, feet are still at shoulder width apart, driving my feet out to the side so that you can see that my hips start to get engaged. I'm gonna have my hips push back and keep my chest up, bringing myself down to a depth that's challenging so that I can feel everything nice and active and fired up and kind of telling me that it's working and turned on. We're gonna hold for our designated time, wait for the beep of the clock, and then stand right back up. We're bringing ourselves to the floor, and then we're standing up as quickly as we can. You initiate the movement by placing the hands to the ground, kicking our feet back, or walking your feet back to a nice plank position. We're then walking our feet back up or jumping my feet back up, bringing myself to a squat position, jumping, and then repeating that movement. Again, modifying it, stepping up, squat position, jump here at the top, or just simply stand up into your squat, back down. If going to the ground is a little bit of a challenge, you can easily grab a stair, you can grab your chair, and bring it up on an incline.
Are you ready to transform your fitness journey? Save this workout and join us for the 6-week Leg Blast workout.